Okay. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our event, our live event, Fix Your Funnel Fast, Gen AI Secrets to Boost Conversion Rates. I might be moderating today, and I'm joined by two great thought leaders and experts. First, there's KK, VP Head of Digital and E-commerce at Kendra Scott. Kendra Scott, the very popular jewelry and lifestyle brand, very popular in my household. So thank you so much for joining us, KK. KK is going to share a lot of his experiences at Kendra Scott, where he's really transformed the online business and delivered millions and millions of dollars of incremental sales. But we'll go deep into the AI journey, conversational commerce and AI journey for Kendra Scott. I also have Thomas here from Forrester. Forrester, of course, is a really influential advisory and research firm. And Thomas is going to be sharing with us Forrester's predictions on AI and e-commerce. Really, that's going to be born out of many client experiences and market research by the firm. Okay. So if we go to the agenda slide, we have a really good agenda for the team here. If you are an e-commerce leader focused on growth and looking at how generative AI could be part of removing friction in your online experience, and moreover, really trying to understand what's happening out there so that you can learn from earlier adopters and innovators and other projects so that you can be successful with your program. This agenda is for you, right? We're going to start with Thomas with generative AI and how it's transforming e-commerce. I'm really going to share both research and concepts and theory that's going to be practical for you, and also some examples from clients that Thomas is advising. And of course, we're going to move on to Kendra Scott, where KK is going to do a deeper dive, take us behind the scenes as to his strategy at Kendra Scott and their lessons and experiences. I'll end with some three very practical takeaways from about 150 AI shopping assistants that are live in production, learning with quite a few folks, some of them on this webinar today, and then we'll get into a Q&A. So don't wait till the end. Go ahead and drop your thoughts or comments or questions anytime throughout the presentation. We really want this to be a great multi-way dialogue to build this community. Okay, so with that, take it away, Thomas.
Thank you very much, Mike. Hello, everyone. So my name is Thomas. I'm a VP and Principal Analyst at Forrester, and I'm going to take a couple of minutes to share Forrester's perspective on Gen AI and how it's transforming e-commerce. I think it's fair to say that over the past 2 years, the pace of AI innovation has accelerated like never before. And you may wonder why there is this image of the Rosetta Stone. Well, if you don't know the story, it is a hieroglyphs stele that helped an historian understand Egyptian hieroglyphs, a long time ago. And basically, the idea is that the machine has swallowed the Rosetta Stone. And what it means is that you can infer intention and context a lot faster. You can understand unstructured data, and the machine can now understand human language, but also produce it. And just that is a paradigm shift that will change how we interact with brands, but also with technology. So if you one way to summarize it as well, and I'm going to share some stats and number, but I like this cartoon from Tom Fishburne, the marketunist, that says basically that which looks a bit counterintuitive and contradictory, that an artificial intelligence will produce content that is human, empathetic, and real. We're not exactly there yet, but that's the direction we're going into. And what it means is that consumers learn a new brand dialogue powered by generative AI. So it looks simple, but it means, which is not always easy for brands, that they have to stop their monologue. They have to stop pushing content to consumers, but they have to interact differently. And it's very likely, and we're starting to see this with Apple Intelligence and Alexa Plus, that we're going to change the interface. And we're going to move from graphical user interfaces like web and apps to multimodal interfaces that really understand your intent and your context. And that's what we're starting to see with the likes of Walmart. Their Gen AI site search help consumers visualize products within the context of their own lifestyles, making product recommendation and answering queries in natural language. So my point is to say that at the end of the day, Gen AI will change how we interact with technology and brands. So it's going to be a shift, as I touched on, from apps and websites to natural language conversations, from orchestrated journeys where you force consumers to go through a predetermined path and click and do stuff to try to find the information that they're looking for, to a more real-time interaction at the moment when they want to interact with your brand to get a specific information or a service. And until now, the focus has been, when it comes to Gen AI, on improving productivity. A lot of focus on like internal productivity, saving time for employees. We believe that in 2025, the shift to Gen AI for consumers and the ability to not just improve productivity, but also improve sales will increase. And that's the reason why we expect 20% of brands to invest in conversational commerce in 2025. This may seem low because about 40% of US consumers are currently interacting through different kind of, messaging or through DM systems with brands to research and to buy products. But here we don't refer to a POC or a test. We refer to investment in a conversational commerce solution that goes way beyond dynamic FAQs. We're really thinking of an AI shopping assistant throughout the customer journey. And the example you see on this visual is from Cdiscount. They're one of the largest e-commerce players and marketplace, second after Amazon, actually, in France. And that AI shopping assistant powered by iAdvize, so I speak under your control, Mike, here, has helped them achieve massive conversion rates. We're talking of 24% conversion rate on average. I mean, that's 10 times the average conversion rate on the web. And that's one way to reduce cost to serve, because this is for relatively complex products. And they have 80 million products for, I think, something like 20 million unique visitors per month, which, for the French standard is super high. And so it has improved drastically also the satisfaction rate of consumers who can interact anytime and get answers to their questions. So that's a pretty massive change. Just curious here, because that's a global stat that we're forecasting, and I know it may sound low because of the appetite of consumers, but the reality that we're experiencing is not that many brands are seriously investing in it, which will give them a competitive advantage, like KK will tell us a bit later. But I'm curious to hear your reaction, Mike and KK. Like, what do you observe? Is that low on your side? Is that pretty much what you're observing? Just curious to get your reaction here.
We're a little bit biased because we see there's a quite a bit of folks that are ready to invest that we're talking to. So we're a little bit biased, but we do see, and I'll talk about it more later. There is a start that's around very small, iterative POCs to get familiar with it, test it, and then go from there. So in terms of getting to that level of investment that becomes material for the business, I do think that people are more in the beginning of their journey. But there are folks like KK and Kendra Scott that are further along. So I think there's a lot to learn from that group.
Yeah, I'll
Definitely,
say the
exactly.
same. Yeah, I'll say the same. Again, I think it might seem low, but again, I think a lot of brands still doing different like proof of concept. So that might be the area like where they want to be more comfortable, like before investing. But I'm not very surprised, but again, I would also expected a little bit higher in this number.
Mhm. I think the challenge is going to be to move from POC to production and to
Yeah.
deploy this at scale. And to do this, we believe at Forrester that you need to invest in brand AI models. So the question we got over the past 2 years was pretty much, which LLM should we use? Should it be, Chat GPT or Claude from Anthropic or Mistral or DeepSeek or what have you? That's not the good question. The good question should be, if you look at the graphic with the four knowledge graphs, that you need to activate your knowledge on a specific LLM, and you're probably going to have to deal with small language models as well, and with hundreds of, if not thousands, of agents. And so there are four components, four knowledge graphs that are unique to your brand. The brand graph, obviously, which is, for example, the tone of voice you want to have in the conversation, or any of the unique assets that you have, images, the product descriptions that I just touched on for cities count. The inventory graph, which is basically referring to your past performance on any past campaigns, depending on channels and performance, conversion rates, and so on. The audience graph, relating to all the data you have about your customers, from zero party data to third party data. And the talent graph, which is a bit unique to your brand, because this refers to the hard skills, the ability of prompting in your team and things like that. So combining these four elements is what's going to differentiate you from competition, and what's going to help you move from, to my point earlier, productivity gains, which was like phase zero. If you look at the evolution over time, we're going to move away from just task automation and cost efficiency to really gaining a business advantage. Think about new products, new experiences, like deconstructing your website and apps to create on-the-fly experiences almost in real time. We're not there yet. We're going to get there, but we may move faster than we think. And having said that, I think one of the reasons why firms are not moving necessarily as fast as one may expect, and why we only expect 1 in 5 brands to invest in conversational commerce, is because there's still a couple of barriers to be removed to adopt Gen AI. Uh, the first one is around data privacy and security. Uh, but as you can see here, it's not so much the technology. It's a lot about governance. Data governance is absolutely critical here. It's about trust in AI systems and reducing hallucinations. But it's also about, like for any technology, no matter how disruptive it is, and maybe the more disruptive it is, the more important it is to make sure that your organization is ready, your employees are ready to use these tools and are trained about working with robots and with artificial intelligence. So these are some of the blockers that need to be removed, but I'm sure we're going to go into the details here. So I just wanted to, at a high level, sort of set the scene on some of the key macro trends around Gen AI and e-commerce. And I'll hand over to you, KK, to hear from Kendra Scott and what you guys have done, and sort of the behind the scene pragmatic story and how you've implemented this.
Thank you, Thomas, for the incredible insights. Like what really resonated with me when you mentioned like how brands that embrace AI strategically aren't just enhancing efficiency, but truly redefining the customer experience. And I think that's our goal as well at Kendra Scott. So hi, everyone. I'm KK, head of e-commerce and digital at Kendra Scott. It's great to be here with all of you. At Kendra Scott, we believe fashion is more than just jewelry. It's a form of self-expression, that empowers individuality. And we always say customers are king, and we are obsessed with everything which the customer wants on our web or in-store experience. If you look into our pillars or the core values, like we are a lifestyle brand founded in 2002 with 3 core values: family, fashion, and philanthropy. Beyond doing beautiful designs, like we have donated over 70 million to youth and women's causes that matter, reinforcing our commitment to doing good. And that same commitment extends to how we create seamless, personalized experiences for our customers. Today, I'm excited to share like how we are leveraging AI-powered conversational commerce to transform how customers discover, engage with, and then also shop our brand. If you now look into like our overall conversational commerce strategy, so we have developed our strategy keeping like few goals in mind. But before even I go into there, again, I think at Kendra Scott, like we saw this was a critical opportunity, that shoppers don't just want the products, they want guided selling experience, they want personalization, they want to have some real-time support. And this is where conversational commerce comes into play, which bridges some of those gaps, like turning passive browsing into high-value engagement and increased conversion. And this led us to AI shopping assistants, a solution designed to replicate the personal touch of an in-store associate online. I think that's where like we want to bridge that gap between in-store and online experience through this effort. 3 goals we have in mind. Part of this one is introduce a revenue stream for the business. 75% of the AI retail investments are justified by sales growth, and our AI shopping assistant, the primary goal has been to drive incremental revenue lift by enabling those interactions and improving the relevancy. The second goal we have is deliver automation to reduce friction and improve efficiency, which has led to higher engagement and lower abandonment rates. It has also increased the efficiency of our call center agents. And finally, increase engagement via personalization at scale. What we have seen is like customers who interact with our AI shopping assistant, they are converting at a higher rate than those who are not. So again, I think those AI-powered recommendations based on browsing behavior, preferences, make the experience more intuitive and frictionless. So my key insight, like out of all this, is product pages. We know that that's very important touch point in the customer journey. Instead of forcing users to figure out the best options themselves, like the goal we have is the AI assistant guiding them and making the shopping experience much more easier and more interactive. Now, in terms of some of the key takeaways, what I'll say is like when I joined Kendra Scott in 2023, like we didn't have a chat bot. So the first goal we had part of this conversational program was to launch a traditional chatbot. And then after doing the RFP, like we decided to go ahead with iAdvize. I also know people from my past, like who has worked with them. While it provided like basic automation and customer support, we quickly realized it wasn't driving meaningful engagement or enhancing the shopping experience. So in 2024, we took a test and learn approach and introduced a Gen AI powered shopping assistant right before the holiday peak. One that doesn't only respond to queries, but proactively assist customers in their shopping journey with personalized recommendations in the chat, as well as conversation starter in PDP. And there is a snippet you can see on the left, like where you can see at a individual product level, we're bringing around 5 questions, which is unique to the customer. And since we launched some of this, we have seen a massive improvement in the results. First of all, better shopping experience by embedding AI directly into the product pages. We reduce the friction and improve the engagement. We saw 9 times higher engagement than the traditional chatbot when we introduced that. That came as a big surprise, to be very honest. 90% deflection rate, which we saw around 50% increase in the deflection rate, which helped freeing up our human agents to focus on higher value interactions. My biggest takeaway, which I'll mention for retailers implementing AI, is you have to identify the business opportunities or problems you're trying to solve, and you can then use AI as an enabler. And it's not, AI adoption isn't like a straight plug and play. It's more iterating, refining based on the customer behavior. I think that holds the key to success, and that's one of the area like where we have evolved. Like we have moved from traditional chatbot to more assisted selling experience, and then like we started embedding AI into high intent touch points where it's then started to move the needle. So in closing, we see at Kendra Scott AI as a way to enhance human connections or deepen the human connections, not replace them. And our goal is to bring the same warmth, personalization, and trust like from our stores into that online experience. And the conversation commerce is just a bridge between the channels. And we are excited about the future of AI and how it will continue elevating the customer engagement, driving conversion, and shaping the next era for e-commerce. Thank you. And I'm now going to pass it to Mike.
Yeah, perfect. KK, let me ask a question, relay a question in the room, because I think it makes sense here. As you're thinking about just more generally the lift that you were looking for in your product pages, how did you go about thinking about that, and what did you see? You mentioned some of it already.
Yeah, so the way we typically look into the lift is we try to look into the customer journey, right, on the web, right, and then like we identify like where are the friction points in that journey, right, and then like we interject that with AI, with different initiatives, etc., right. And part of this effort, right, like what we have done is we have done A/B tests, right, like before introducing each of these modules or enhancement. And ultimately, our goal was an incremental sales target we had part of this program. And we had very, very robust like mathematical statistical models before going into those tests that this is our expectation. And if we beat those expectations, then we deem that test as successful. And then we kind of like that's an endless cycle then you get into, right? And so again, I think we have done like ton of like incremental improvements, and which has definitely like moved the needle. But we always try to deliver at least like 1 to 2% sales lift from different UX improvements, which we have been delivering through this program.
Perfect. All right, great. I encourage you all to keep dropping some questions. We're going to have more as we complete here in a sec. But I'm going to, thanks KK for that. I want to just add really to the Kendra Scott case study and the behind the scenes look with just some practical insights from 150 projects in the AI shopping assistant space. So these are very, very broad, but really the idea is to be as helpful as possible. This gives you just a quick snapshot of the different brands, just to give you an idea. Some of you are here today, so welcome. Thank you very much for joining and really kind of learn from each other. You see that it's a wide variety of e-commerce businesses, a wide variety of industries, and we're really tracking and trying to learn as much as possible and share as much as possible as to what works and what doesn't work as we go into this journey. So if you go to the next slide, I want to take 3 broad insights that our team had from working with all of these great brands and just turn it into a practical recommendation here just for everybody here to think about as you're thinking about and planning your journey and your transformation. The first insight for us was, wow, we had AI chatbots before. We had many hundreds of customers with an AI chatbot. Most of what we saw was based on increased efficiency, to Thomas's point of step one. What we found with AI shopping assistant projects, is surprising to us as an iAdvize team, is that sales really is the main motivator, the business case driver, and of course, efficiency is a strong second. So we found that 75% of the projects that we're working with have sales as the main driver for why they're doing this and the business case they're pursuing, again, in an iterative way. So that's insight number one, recommendation number one. That translates to insight number two, recommendation number two, which is what we've learned from a lot of our customers is that to really influence sales, as KK is talking about, you've got to get in there and really try to rethink the customer journey. So this is just one example. It pushes you into innovating in the UI, not just the AI, right? And so if you look at something like a product page, is a very, very common place to start for many of our customers, not all of our customers, but many, many of our customers. What you find a problem with the product page, or the challenge that's causing a lot of drop off, is the shopper really does not go beyond the first thing that they see in a product page. They're not willing to, or maybe it's very difficult to. At the end of the day, the net result is the same. Very little engagement, if you will, past that page. And of course, for those that may have questions on that product, it might take them a while to get an answer to a product question as part of their shopping journey. And what we found is that there's an opportunity to be more anticipatory on the product pages. It's a bit like that store associate that kind of has a guess that, how did they know that I was looking for a different size? Or how did they know that I might be shopping for somebody else? It's getting that much more anticipatory part of the product page, making it really come to life with more dynamic engagement, a more dynamic conversation. And what we found here across our base that's working very diligently on the UI is that by anticipating what shoppers need, there is a significant higher level of engagement. And then depending on what they had there before, different boosts on conversion rates, and determining on how, based on how effective the page was before. But I wouldn't understate the importance of the third finding, which is there's a lot reduced consumer effort. Sometimes it doesn't always result in something obvious, in terms of your conversion rates, but by reducing the consumer effort and just having fewer clicks, it's going to have a very, very positive impact on all of your metrics moving forward. We worked with several fashion sites, three different A/B tests for fashion sites, primarily in Europe. And what we saw were 40% fewer clicks for more information on the mobile experience when those shoppers were interacting with an AI shopping assistant. And so if you think about the mobile experience, the product page, very unlikely that you're going to keep navigating to look for something that's not immediately obvious. And so what we find is there's such a big gap there in consumer need and effort, and what they're willing to do and what they actually need, that we can fill that gap with a much more anticipatory AI shopping assistant. So that's insight number two, recommendation number two. And then if we go to insight number three and recommendation number three, it's really that most people that are having success are starting small and, more importantly, embracing iteration. So I want to share this case study. We're working with several cosmetics brands, and we had an effort to work with them to update and iterate in a specific way, in terms of a program we had with our customer success team. The problem that these cosmetics brands were having was that shopper sessions were getting shorter, on their e-commerce site, and buying journeys have become a lot more fragmented. So visitors were landing directly on product pages from an ad, and they were no longer, kind of to Thomas's point, orchestrating the journey. They just had to meet the consumer where they were for a very, very short session and engage with them. And they needed a more engaging user experience and UI. They implemented, these brands implemented an AI shopping assistant, at launch, using their data, their product catalog, their FAQs. They saw some good results. But really, here's a takeaway from this insight. We worked with them over a few week period to iterate that first result with adding qualitative knowledge on usage of these products, what people might really be looking for, things that are not available so readily in the product catalog and FAQs, but are well known, to the e-commerce teams. And with a few hours of effort, there were huge returns. So by investing a bit in knowledge and guidance, click rates went up 175%. Conversion rate, even across the board, went up. And of course, customer satisfaction went up. So it's just something to say that this is a process, and it is beginning. And by embracing that iteration, there's incremental gains to be had and improvements all along the way. Okay, so 3 very, very practical insights and recommendations from here. So now I think we can move into some questions. Let me remind everybody again, please go ahead and type your questions or comments in there and share with everybody. We'll get to as many of them as we can. So give you guys a second. I'll start choosing a few here. Okay, I'll start with an easy one, Thomas. Chatbot, shopping assistant, AI. Isn't this all just the same? Isn't this just the same as before? What are you thinking? What do you see? What's your perspective?
No, I see clearly a difference. I mean, some of the stats KK shared and the satisfaction level that it's a different ball game than just, NLU first generation of chatbots. It's a paradigm shift. I mean, there are so many AI use cases, but if you look at the bigger picture, the way we look at it is that it's going to change, as I pointed out, the way you interact with brands, but more importantly, it's almost like the end of the life cycle as we know it. And I know it's still early days, but it's moving fast. And so when I touched on the fly experiences, I mean, I'm serious. That's where we're gonna, go in the next couple of years, maybe faster than that. So yeah, I think it's really a change, but as always, to make the most of the technology, you need to be ready at an organizational level. So let's have improvement to come. Still relatively early days, despite the buzz.
Anything to add, KK? What's your perspective?
Yeah, I think I agree with everything like Thomas just mentioned, right? So again, like traditional chatbots at one point was reactive, right? Customers were asking a question, they were giving an answer. I think things are changing in terms of the Gen AI is becoming more proactive rather than reactive. It's kind of like you're predicting what the question the customer might be asking, and then you're assisting the customer in that shopping journey, which I always think when I go to the stores, I try to learn like how the store associate is trying to sell something, right? And some of the times I will not even say that I'm from Kendra Scott, right? So just to experience that. So again, I think that's what the store associates do, right? Like they're really strong in terms of building that connection and then asking the right question and then helping or making the shopping experience so much easier. I think that's where the conversational commerce is heading towards. And then again, I think how do you build that more human connection, like in that journey? I think that's going to be important. Like how do you even expand? Like I still think that we're scratching the surface in some of the areas because it's a test and learn. Like we're gradually going to scale even further. But to your point was like, how do you integrate that in the entire customer funnel? I think that's going to be the trick where you'll perhaps scale the overall program.
Mhm. That's right. I mean, I think it's interesting that you mentioned store associates. That's not something that was traditionally replicated, as a concept by previous efforts. No one was trying to be that store associate that helps you find the right things, makes recommendations, personalizes the whole customer journey for you. More common perhaps to automate customer support or replicate what customer support might be doing. So it's an interesting shift, because if you start thinking about your business or think about a physical store, having a store associate there or not having a store associate has a huge impact on the experience of the store and the revenue of a store. So
Totally.
cool. I've got some questions here. Let me just see. I'm curious to know how, this is Kendra Scott, so you, KK. I'm curious to know how you're handling customers who might prefer to communicate in a non-English language.
That's a really good question.
Well, how do you think about it? I'll share some across the board too. We've some multi-language customers as well.
Yeah, so currently we ship to around 170 plus countries from the US, and we have a partnership with Global E. And part of that, like you can go to our website footer and then change like whichever country you can choose, and then accordingly, then it will change the overall currency, etc. At this point, like we do not have like multilingual websites, but then down the line, like we might be getting there, like in terms of understanding, like does that really help, like in terms of conversion? Because in my past, like we have tried a Spanish website, but then we never had like authentic Spanish content to serve to the right Spanish audience. Then it didn't work, because just changing language is not what the brand stands for, or like what. So again, I think there's a lot of ways like you can try it out, but we haven't gone into like multilingual area yet. But I'm willing to hear some more insights from Mike Thomas.
Yeah, for sure. So I think one takeaway here is it really kind of has to do with your brand and its communication strategy and staying authentic. So that's a big part of it. In Kendra Scott's case, that's not part of that, but there are opportunities to try this in the future. We work with several of those 150 AI shopping assistants. There are several multi-language ones. And it's very, very helpful because you don't have to localize as much as you had to do before, and it makes it available to you. Now, my point is around iteration and being able to be part of it. That KK talks about human and AI working together. You want to make sure that you have a experience base around managing customer interactions, say in the Spanish language, and that you could be part of training, providing the right data, the authentic content, and then being able to monitor and improve the results. That's really the key. In terms of technology being a blocker, that's been reduced quite a bit with where we are now. There is a lot more, I'd say, nascent, available, foundational, multi-language capability in AI today. That opens up all of this. Now, it doesn't mean that you need to take advantage of it. It has to be part of your strategy and needs to be part of how you're going to operate it moving forward. Okay. Liz has a question for you, KK. Can you share more about kind of the iterate process, at Kendra Scott? How do you think about it? How do you guide your teams through it? What do you try to accomplish?
Yeah, so our iteration process is very fascinating, because like we try to kind of like, again, I think first is like the first thing which I did when I joined Kendra Scott was create a analytics and personalization vertical which didn't exist. So we brought in the experts who knows like how to read the data, like we can get deeper into like where are those friction points in the journey, right? And then like once we identify, okay, so this is where we need to go after, then we line up different tests. Like with iAdvize, I think like what we did was in the beginning, like we were trying to be very strict, like in terms of brand guidelines, in terms of the questions which we allow. And then we gradually then started to open up. And then when we opened up, like we also remained pretty diligent in terms of which questions customers are interacting. Are we serving the right question? There is a phase like where you need to like closely monitor that like you're not serving anything which is not adhering to brand guidelines. But then again, I think it was a very strong collective effort with our customer care, with our brand marketing, as well as like the e-commerce team, which kind of like made it happen. And again, I think the test has been in terms of like in the beginning, there was like static questions we were serving, right? And then like we gradually migrated into dynamic questions, and then like we started seeing that it's becoming more interactive, because what if we come up with static questions, it's just like one size fit all for everyone. But then more it become unique, I think we started seeing those 9 times improvement in conversational engagement. Then like we started working on different placement, like which placement works. And again, we still have like the different tests, like which we have lined up like after the code freeze is over. But again, I think it's a start small, start somewhere, like where you think you have a problem or you have an opportunity, and then gradually like make progress and then scale the program. I think that's has worked really well for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Start small, start somewhere. Terrific. How about you, Thomas? Anything to add on just what do you see in terms of how people are approaching these projects differently in a more iterative way than perhaps in the past?
Yeah, I think it was a strong willingness to test and learn and to really accelerate the deployment. So that touches on what I mentioned earlier in terms of, what use cases do you want to prioritize? And once you start seeing results, then you can expand and move faster. It's a step-by-step approach, because you also need to understand, the technology and the fact that, which is a bit, difficult for the human brain to understand. Gen AI is not deterministic; it's probabilistic, and that looks super easy, but it's not that easy. And so I think, yeah, that's definitely the way forward, and it moves pretty fast in terms of the results that I've seen for some brands that have implemented this in just a couple of months. They've seen results, which is encouraging, because then you want to move faster, and you get more budget, you get more eco from the management team, and so that's the way to go.
Yeah, perfect. There is a question I just want to address. Any best practices around data security? Since it was brought up, Thomas, you brought it up as a key concern to overcome for these projects. So let me just start with 3 best practices that we see for data security and privacy. The first is work with a proven vendor that has good, sound data security practices, would be compliant with GDPR, CCPA, has the right certifications that basically ensure that they've got a system in place to manage sensitive information. So that's something that difficult to just fake. You want to make sure that you have a vendor that cares about that, will be wants to discuss that with you, and thinks that's important, and has a lot of that in their DNA. I'd say the second best practice is around AI shopping assistants. You want to be looking for, you saw Thomas's brand AI set. You want a shopping assistant that's going to be based on your data, your information, your tone, your brand AI, right? For example, at iAdvize, we don't use any of brand's data to train another AI shopping assistant. It's not passed to train the large language model, as an example, right? So you want to be looking for these areas where you feel pretty good that this is yours, and that is very helpful. Now you want to thirdly create some trust with the end customer. So we work with a lot of you on best practices around making sure there's some transparency that they're talking to an AI. It could be as simple as, hi, I'm your fashion assistant. I'm your AI fashion assistant here to help you. And that might be it. But having those kind of big picture creates this trust around data security and privacy that we've seen work well across the board. Cool. Thomas, you guys are helping clients there. Anything else?
No, I think you
Uh-oh, we're losing your sound, Thomas.
Oh, sorry, can you hear me?
It's getting a little better.
Okay.
Okay,
Well,
there
no,
it
I was just
is.
saying
There it
you
is.
nailed it. I would just stress the importance of data governance and processes to establish trust and to make sure that, you have the right data in place, the knowledge database, the right metadata, and so on. It's a bit of behind the scenes work, but if you do this correctly, then you get a competitive advantage.
Mm-hmm. Thomas, a question for you. The brand AI, usually marketing owns the brand, keeper of the
Mm-hmm.
brand. How involved is marketing? What do you see across the clients that you advise? Is there any hesitancy around?
Yeah, in some cases, it's really a mindset stuff. So if you're willing to accept the idea that this is a conversation and a dialogue and not a monologue, and that at the end of the day, consumers decide, how they want to experience your brand and how they want to share it, then I see this really as a joint effort between e-commerce, digital, customer support, marketing. That's really the way to go because it's really blurring the lines. So I
Mhm.
don't think there is such a thing as I own the brand. It's really there are different ways, different expressions, different ways to experience it. So it's a very, to KK's point, a very collaborative effort.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll also say the same. Again, I think there's been different times. Again, I think I've come across some department might have some concerns, right? So whether it's security team or whether it's brand team, again, I think how do you position your effort or the initiative so that we don't know what we don't know at this point. We're just going to test and learn. And then if the customers are interacting with it, that means that's a win for the brand. So then again, I think it's like, how do you have those conversations in a constructive way to the partners? I think it's key to make progress and then show results and then keep scaling the programs.
Great, great. Well, thank you. We've had a really good webinar so far of great interaction and dialogue with everybody. Thanks, attendees, for putting some energy into this as well. Let me leave with one last question. And the question is this: if you had one recommendation for anyone that's about to start or planning their AI journey, what would it be? I'll start with you, Thomas, and then you, KK.
So if it was one recommendation, I would say training. Let's make sure that you let employees in the different departments train and get up to speed and play with some of the tools so that they really understand what's at stake with Gen AI. Because again, it's a game-changing technology, but only if you know how to use it.
Perfect. Thank you, KK.
Yeah, I'll say identify the business problem or opportunity you're trying to solve, right? I think that's the first thing I think every brand, small, large, medium, has to do. There's a lot of noise in the market, like in terms of things are constantly shifting. But again, I think like as long as like we always keep in mind that AI isn't just about automation, it's about building smarter, more human-like digital experiences. And the brands that embrace this shift will lead the future of e-commerce. And again, I think test and learn, I think it's going to be the pathway to make some progress. And then you definitely need to focus on those right pockets, and then you can scale and make the biggest impact.
Right. Incredible. Incredible. Thank you. What I would say is that AI is here in e-commerce. The great news here, and you could see in this dialogue, is that you don't have to do it alone. We're not in the early stages. I think, Thomas, you said we're still in the early stages in terms of overall adoption, but we're not in the stage one anymore. There's a lot of experiences to draw from, and what we're really trying to do here is create that type of dialogue and share that. I think all together we can go further and faster. So that's the idea. I'm going to end with 3 thank yous. First, KK, thank you for your incredible insights. Really deeply appreciate your partnership. I think a lot of the things you've shared, I wouldn't be surprised if many people reached out to you wanting to find out more, inspire their journey. Thomas, thank you so much for joining us. You've been an incredible partner and really challenging each other to push the industry forward. I really appreciate that. And then for everybody joining, thank you so much for putting some energy into it, giving us your questions. I see more. We're going to reach out to you. Really appreciate it. Hopefully we can speak soon. DM us at any time. We want to talk about this. We want to help you progress. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Thomas. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.